Yeah. You hearing me?
Loud and clear,
Yeah.
boy.
But this is what you gotta get, I'm telling you.
I like this.
Yeah.
So,
Like it seems like you don't use your mic though, because I see you have a mic and it doesn't come out like as I
it
think
doesn't come out
should.
like this.
No.
We don't know what we're doing in there. I hear where the problem comes from. I haven't researched it.
Yeah.
I just leave the bias, right? If I sit down, because we got a board like this, but it is a mix of, I can't remember as well. But not like this one. This obviously is Rode and mic's gonna be.
I mean, as
special,
long as
but-
it's an audio recorder, you're good. I mean, you don't need this particular one, you know? You just gotta set it up. I just feel like it's not connected into the camera. This side's gotta sync up to the video. So it actually doesn't, in post, I just sync it up. Easy. The software does it automatically, but yeah, I can show you.
Cool. We gotta get it.
Anyway, how things?
Um,
Welcome.
Yeah, well, as of today's date, yesterday I had a court matter with Simona Brooms. The day before would have been the Mohammeds. So, in asking how things, being the Guyanese critic, things are great. Things are great, amazing.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm at a place of peace in my life.
Really?
Right? Not to say much has changed outwardly. Recently, I stopped using not profanities, the cuss word, the F word on my program, my morning program,
Yeah.
because people was complaining about it. The funny thing is, I could always represent my arguments well. So I represented it. And because the vast majority of people love me no matter what the circumstance is, I was able to represent the reason for cussing,
Yeah.
right? And I had to ask myself, was it as a result of people's want, or was it as a result of my doing and my ability to argue that I'm doing the right thing? Because one of my arguments is for cussing is, I say, man, your children don't turn gay when they follow me. Nobody could contribute homosexuality or theft or somebody of lower moral standing and they say, oh, it's critic I follow.
Yeah.
And critic is the bad one out in the public. But there's these base principles that come with being the critic.
For sure.
You understand? And the cussing. And then I calculate, what is it worth if I really want to have a good model, look at grasping everybody, the church lady, this body, that, because I was never interested in everybody. I was just interested in the people who wanted to go on this journey with me. So, we stopped the cussing on the morning program. The man cave, it gets wild. It's like, keep up all of them from the man cave, from the morning program, and just let it out in the man cave.
Well, that's fine. I mean, you get to have your own, there's
But
professional and there's...
in how, I'm at a great place. Things are doing, and more so because I see the rewards of my hard work I see the rewards of my hard work in this country, materializing in this country, as to how this country is developing, what's happening, and how things are moving forward. So I'm at a good place. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. Sorry, just give me... I real paranoid because my sister's not here, so I'll make sure I record it on right. Usually she's been behind the camera.
I'll hear you paranoid more than me,
Yeah.
buddy.
Sorry, it's just... I usually could relax and do this, but then, oh God, with she away in Brazil right now, so... Yeah, no, that's good. That's great to hear. We can get back to a lot of what you touched on. I kind of wanted to ask you, you're such an anomaly in Guyana, because I was thinking about it this morning, what am I gonna talk to you about today? And I was thinking, like, your place in our society is such a unique one. Like, we don't really have like celebrity culture, and I don't want to refer to you as a celebrity because you're very more you're a lot deeper than that. But I compare you to somebody like we haven't had somebody like you in our public society since like C.N. Sharma, for example. Not saying you're like him. I just mean like somebody so unique and different? Like, who stands out? Who sort of breaking barriers in a way? Again, not comparing you to him, just your public persona. How do you deal with that? Because, like you said, you have you've garnered a mass following, and now you're feeling a responsibility to them. Your personality is very exuberant. You don't hold back on the things you say. You're very expressive, and people love that. But how far removed is that public persona from maybe who you are outside of the camera, or are those two one and the same?
It's actually one and the same. And that is why I've been able to attain the position that I've gotten in this society. And funny enough, although I do not carry myself as a celebrity, I don't feel like a celebrity. The truth is, I am the first Guyanese. So you have a lot of people who perform, who do well. I'm the first Guyanese who have really brought a sense of celebrity.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. Because Guyanese have never been more alive. Like when it comes to media, you just be, oh yes, that guy. Oh, I know that guy. Do you know who that guy is? You gotta, people go crazy when they see, like I'm walking down the road and be like, Mr. Critic, it's great seeing you in person for the first time. Now, I don't see myself that way, right? I don't see myself that way. It's not underselling myself. It is the only time I realize where I am in this society is when I'm reminded by people. Because I remember going to crime scenes, and the guy was on the ground, just lost his baby. This was in Falls, 19th Street, Falls. His wife had a nervous breakdown and stabbed their baby to death. And he was sitting down on the ground. And I just went calmly and sit down next to him and consoled him and started talking to him about the circumstances of what really transpired, because he had a loss, and he had two losses, as a matter of fact. He lost his wife. She was going to prison, right, as a result of this gruesome act. I've never seen myself this way, but it is what it is, as a matter of fact. People recognize me and recognize what I do. And it's only then, like last night I was having a discussion with a young man. He was telling me how in me coming out and being honest about my experience and my downfalls and my issues and my emotions, and when I drink and come out on a program and talking about hangover and the fact that I'm hangover and I don't like the drinking and my weight loss and everything, I've been very open with about my life. It's only when I encounter people who remind me that Mr. Critic is as a result of you saying this caused me to do this. I forget how I impact entrepreneurs because they're looking at me and me talking about how I became a contractor, how I became literally number one in the media industry while being totally unnatural to the media industry. It was like a virus. I was like a virus. The white blood cells was trying to get rid of me from the media industry. You know?
That is,
because
that's hilarious.
People did not understand what I was doing. I could remember vividly. I always remember this. I was covering a story opposite a bank's DH outlet, a robbery and where someone was shot on Durban Street. And I was with my phone. I used to work with Kaiju News then. And I was with my phone trying to record. And an NCN employee, a girl, was there with an umbrella and trying to block me with the umbrella. She used that old reporter, you know. 7 years ago. And that impacted me in a manner. I went back to the office and I thought, I will be more of a reporter and a journalist than you will ever be. And I worked towards that. Today I'm the Guyanese Critic. And that young lady, I can't even remember who she was.
Yeah.
Because I'm the virus who came to media. Simple.
You know, you started out. Did you start out as an accredited journalist? When you were working for Kite, is that where you started?
No. I actually started covering stories, and because of my ability to be on every crime, fire, and accident while it was before the police.
So that's my next question. You started freelance. But how did you end up getting into these scenes? Because usually, I would assume random people can't just show up and start reporting. And you're 6 foot something, you're very recognizable. It's not like you move in anonymous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how are you sort of initially in the early stages just getting onto these scenes and just reporting, you know what I mean? And consistently doing that.
There was nobody there to stop me. Bear in mind, when I'm on the scene, you're suggesting that you can't get into the scene because it would be hard enough. I am on the scene. The police comes to meet me. So I cover the story. The police and the ambulance has to ask me to get out of the way. I have been on scenes where remains were found. And I'm there and I'm talking to the guy and I said, so the police taking long for come. Why? How long you call the police? He said, no, Mr. Critic, we didn't call the police, we call you first. I get the call first. Many times, I would have had to call because when I started, I make sure I was on it. Every time. If I was driving down the road and saw an accident, I wouldn't pass it, come out and start covering it. So people knew this was the guy you could call and get to see.
And this was before you built your network of people calling you to report stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started building the network that way.
You really were doing the hard work then.
The thing is, what really caught people? So you're driving on the road and you see an accident. You don't know what happened. So people just call me and say, Critic, they got an accident down there. Right? Go live. I want to know what happened. So I would explain the accident in detail, this and because I'm there. You had to drive past. Mm-hmm. Me gonna go close and show and explain and go wrong and talk to people. So somebody call and say, hey, they had an accident. You know somebody just get knocked down? So the person who called you and told you didn't give you much information. So the person who get and want for more information would say, yo, call Critic by. Critic gonna go down there and we can get it live. And the premise was based on deliverance immediately. Also, there was so much, newspapers is a day after, literally 24 hours after sometimes. Other news agencies had to edit their stories 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night. This is in lifetime. You're aware of what's going on. Family is crying. The blood is there. The victim is there. This is happening now in lifetime. And that is the first time Guyana saw that. It was like, whoa, this is the guy to call.
When did you start realizing that, wow, this is becoming something very consequential? Like the power I have in reporting is becoming very, important to the country.
There wasn't a realization after.
You always thought.
The drive was to become consequential.
Yeah.
My drive, the reason I went out and did things that nobody else did, was to come to that level, to come to this level that I'm at today. And when it became consequential was about maybe a year after I started. The Guyanese Critic page was created in 2012. Yeah. So I always knew that media would be an area for me. I put a lot of thought with another friend into what we would name it. And then I realized a critic could critique on anything. So it allows me anything. And then how would I ensure that we have a level of association with Guyanese? So Guyanese Critic. Yeah. So it wasn't me alone. And then there was a change of government in 2015. And I realized this is what I wanted to be. The funny thing is, if you were to ask my friends that childhood friends and school friends, if they know that guy, they tell you yes. Not they know Michael Rodriguez and he has become Guyanese Critic. I've been having controversies with my teachers. I've been having controversies with other students all of my life. I have questioned, why is this way? Why do you do this way? Why are you doing that? Well, I've always been that way. So when we see, oh yeah, my teacher would tell you, yes, it's Mikhail, yes, that's how he behaves. So it is just me deciding, I'll put a name to who I am.
Yeah.
Unlike an actor who would have been looking for some part and had this, nurture this quality and develop this skill. All I did is put a name to my attitude, and I went out there
and build your own brand.
And build a brand.
So during this time, in the early days, you started going around accumulating the following, accumulating the reputation that you have now. How is this sustainable? That can't, you couldn't have been making money at that point. Not to get into your finances, but I just mean, how are you juggling knowing what you want to do and what's deep down in your heart that you're going to become versus just being able to survive?
Bear in mind, before I decided on the path of the Guyanese Critic, I was fairly successful entrepreneur.
Okay.
Only for my personal shortcomings. So, in the realm of the entrepreneur, outside of being the Guyanese Critic, I'm a genius. I've built. So the video that you saw recently with the boy, Easiest 5,000, the young man I was interviewing, I gave his mother her first job at the traffic light. I provided them with the cool and the ice and the water. Yeah. The people you see selling water at the traffic lights, that was my idea. We had over 300 people across Georgetown selling water at traffic lights.
Yeah.
So I was very successful entrepreneur.
Wow.
Right? So when I decided to become the Guyanese Critic, I really pulled back from seeking money or monetary gain and concentrate on how can I give back? How can I be me and do for people? And at the beginning, I used to survive on donations, strictly donations. People supported me. People said, Critic, we like what you were doing. We like that you cover the news. And they would send money to me. And then I had the job at Kite News. I used to work for about $120,000 a month. But what really used to bolster my salary then, $120,000 a month wasn't much for me going all about the place, driving all across the country. Yeah. What used to bolster my salary then is I got the most front pages on Kite News. So a front page photo as a journalist is worth $5,000. I used to get 15 a month.
15 front pages.
15 front pages a month. I used to get the most. Because you got 25 reporters. You got 25 journalists working at Kite News at any given time, or people in the media industry. And I used to get the most. And they could not have figured out what it was. It was not the photo. They weren't unique photos. It's my ability to give a captivating caption. Mm-hmm. I take a photo with a big truck. I take a photo with I leave a grass or something and say this. And Glenn Lal, the publisher at the time, would look at it. And then there's another thing. So everybody puts in the photo, and there was the most important photo. And this is not one of my best qualities. Like being an irritant sometimes. So what I would do is people would put in their photo, and there would be a decision that this is the photo for the day. I know I got a trump here. Me saying nothing, I'm in that decision making. I say, yes, wow, nice photo.
They know who puts in the photo? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
The reporter has to put in the photo because you're getting 5,000 for it.
No. But do they know, oh, this is Mikhail's photo? Or
No, me put in me photo yet.
Oh, okay.
You
gotcha.
put in your photo.
Okay.
Everybody here agrees that this is the photo for the front page. And I am in the agreement. So yes, I think, right? And you thinking in your mind, we got $5,000 here. Because if you show how much front page photos, I think it was about $2,200 for an article and $5,000 for a front page photo, right? So if you write 4 or 5 articles a day, it's $8,000 and thing. And I would agree, yes, you photo Guyana, sir. And when crunch time comes, everybody got home. Me and Glenn are looking at what's the front page, and he would say, Critic, what do you think we should? What should this be header? I said, this header doesn't make sense. This would be more captivating, we think. And then I said, we think about this photo with this caption. So when you gone home, waiting for the paper in the morning to see the picture that you put in, you know everybody agreed to it. You see a next picture. And every day I did that. Every time I brought a photo, I did it. And I never brought a photo that never got in. You understand? Because I make sure I got a plan, I got a story, and I said, look at this photo. What do you think about this? What people are going to think when they see this photo.
Yeah.
Right? Always.
Yeah. So you were at Kaitro News, and then the period of 2015 to 2020, and we're going to take this in stages because I know there was another transformation from 2020 onwards. The period of 2015 to 2020, what kind of space were you operating under? Because I know, and I don't mean to make it about politics, but I know politics plays a big part, or government plays a big part in the sort of type of reporting and media and just the dynamic of how we report, right? What was it like for you 2015 to 2020 doing this kind of work?
The most interesting time in my life, I can tell you. I was not as financially comfortable as I am today, but you gotta say, I was in my heyday. I was, I don't know if you know, but I have done a number of firsts in this country. So, I have covered more accidents than any member of the police force in their lifetime of being in the police force in 5 years that they in the lifetime. Let's say a 30-year career. Here why. Here how this happened. So between 2015 and 2020, I covered every accident. Minor, major, every accident. Across the country. I go to Essequibo, I go to Borbis. Everywhere I am covering accidents. Right? When a traffic rank is going to investigate an accident, remember he's in a district. He doesn't cover the country. He's a traffic rank for a district. So it's limited as to how much he could have done. I did 10 accidents someday. Covered 10 accidents. 2 murders in one day. A robbery. I covered the Caribbean airline crash. I covered while it was going on. Not the next day. Go around at the back of the airport, climb up the hill, climb up the fence, live.
Yeah.
Myself and Gordon Mosley were there. Gordon Mosley was just before me. going through the dark, climbing. People have died on my life. I'm covering a police shootout in Norton Street. And I'm there and gunfire erupts.
I remember that one.
On my life. 12,000 people looking. There are a number of firsts that I have done. I have 2020 elections. Just thereafter the 2020 elections, the 5 months that ensued before the elections result were forthcoming. I covered riots live. And then go on to stop the riots live.
I remember in time of the East Coast when you ran into the riot and then your phone cut off and everybody was left in suspense, but we didn't know if you make it.
Yeah, stop the riots. Right? So I have done so many things in that period of time. Mm-hmm. It's like I have to pull myself. Like this start, the easiest 5,000 is because I'm trying to get back out there.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes I don't have the energy like I used to have. I'm not as hungry as I used to be. But 2015 to 2020 was the most interesting time for me in what is now becoming an amazing career in journalism.
Yeah. Well, that happens with success, right? I mean, not to say you think you've made it and whatever, but I just mean it gets, when you have more opportunity, it's kind of hard to continue doing the exact same things you did when you were starting out. I mean, you kind of turned it into a new model with your studio and having people call in and stuff like that. I mean, it's a different kind of reporting. You're still out there, but you've added in this new component. I mean, look at how many people tune in on a daily basis to your studio live. I mean, that's insane.
The funny thing is nobody has been able to fill the void since.
Yeah, which I find weird.
I remember there were a high-level team of individuals having a discussion. And somebody said, Critic got to start training somebody for Techie Place. And everybody looked around at the individual and said, who? Who could do that? So I was off the air for about 7 months. And I thought maybe 2 entities could come together with a number of reporters and fill the void. Maybe 2 individuals could come together and fill that void, cover every story. Nobody has done it since.
Do you think that's because media is quite, whether they're biased or not, they're perceived to be politically aligned?
There is the perception, yes.
Whereas, I mean, people could also think that about you, but I feel like you have a personality that sort of can really go either way, despite your whatever affiliation.
It's clear. The people who assume that I'm guided by my bias, and I obviously have bias, and how so? So between 2015 to 2020, I had to go on my programs and literally cuss out the government to get something done or to be heard. After 2020, when the new government came in, I would want to think is because of their having an understanding of what I do and how detrimental I could be with what I say. If you call me and say, Critic, the road is bad, I say, send some pictures and so I could send it to the minister. And they're going to start looking at that, or they're going to call me and say, oh, it's in the budget to be done, and I could call you back and give you an answer. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that connect with the previous administration. It just seems that there was no care. Just seems there were no care. But now I have that opportunity. So there's clear that I don't be coercing government as I used to be coercing out the previous government. And it seems that there's a bias. I'm willing to accept that there are biases, but has it changed the fact that I continue to do what I set out to do, is help people.
Yeah.
I fix more potholes and lights and roads, or get the assistance to get it done, more than anybody else in this country. There is no politician in or out of government that addresses more issues than me, and everybody's doing their job.
Would you say that government now has an influence over your narrative?
No. Nobody will ever have influence over my narrative. Have you started the program Apolitical? Timothy Jonas Anog. It's fully sponsored by TBN. And no government, I don't know if you look at what Kian Jabur says, no government is going to have the ability to control an individual and not use it and get rid of Kian Jabur. There's no other, by the way, there's no other seemingly neutral media organization that gives the other side a chance to speak. And that is why I am the realest thing, and I profess to be the realest thing in the world, and nobody can dispute it.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I agree with that. That's a good point. You know, Kian and Timothy are, they represent the third party, which, ideally it's something we do need in our socio-political environment, whether it's them or somebody else. But because we've seen, this idea of third party has had a lot of struggle having any consequential momentum. And given the last election, the main opposition is currently, pretty helpless at this point. What do you think? What are your thoughts on them? I mean, you sort of spend a lot of time in the political spectrum, reporting, seeing what's going on. Where do you think that opposition needs to go to sort of adequately and strongly represent their constituency?
Because I am the only person. This is a matter of fact. So we are polarized politically and racially. And the association is with political parties, and racism in this country, the conversation of racism actually comes up every time when the politicians decide it's convenient for them. Because I'm the only individual, this is a matter of fact, that stands clearly in the path of the opposition's narrative, whatever that narrative is, not to bash them. I have faced the brunt of a brutal attack to suggest I was even racist. One time, remember the 2020 big protests in front of my house, the first private individual that was protested by sitting minister of government. Strange. I've never heard about, there's a next first. I've never heard about sitting ministers of government protested in front of somebody's house. Maybe it happened somewhere else in the world, but we haven't noticed it. Where do I see the opposition need going? Because of what I know and the experiences I've had with the opposition, I am more inclined to lend support to a third force. Mm-hmm. I am really worried for the opposition because of the fact that we need an opposition that has good intent for the country, that will hold a government who has unlimited resources to them, hold them accountable. I can't say that I see the existing opposition playing that part effectively. It seems that they're more about ego stoking. It's not about a specific narrative or the development of an ideology or the implementation of policies. It's more ad hoc.
Yeah.
And I am no politician, but I've garnered enough experience in recent years to know that they are on the wrong trajectory. And I don't see, like first thing, recently they had the PPP's Congress. And it basically, for the most part, went off without a hitch. And then dispute was brought to it by the opposition. There was no dispute from within. The opposition is now going to hold their Congress. And they've had dispute after dispute after dispute from within. The government is on the sidelines looking at them tearing themselves apart. You understand? You have a government just finished the Congress, seemingly perfect, flawless. Dispute was brought to it by the opposition. So you realize there's a political narrative here, right? Minister called in, investigation done, case closed, made no sense. All right, there's one case. And then you have the same event has to be held by it's a Congress to choose leaders. And it's mayhem and chaos, fighting the list, the computer that has the list of names went missing. The opposition leader put himself at the head of the committee. And confusion from within. Now, bear in mind, you have to show you have the leadership capabilities. Because you're running a small thing here. You're running a small thing. You have to show you have that capabilities because that is how you're presenting yourself to suggest if you give me the opportunity to run this country, I will do it as well as I run my party. But if you cannot find common ground with your brother, how can you find common ground with people who are not related to you?
Yeah. I'm no expert, but it feels to me as a subjective outsider who's not politically affiliated or inclined, but obviously very interested in these goings on. You look at the PPP and they feel like a complete machinery. Like even if there's dispute inside, you would never know.
You can't know.
Nobody can tell, right? Everybody kind of knows their role. They know, I guess, what the chain of command is, what goals they're following. And you said it best with the ad hoc nature. It feels on the other side like it's kind of scrap. And then when the internal civil war is done, it's like, okay, now we got to figure out from the bottom. And while we're doing that, we're kind of just grabbing at what we can over here without sort of shaping our own policies or our own vision for Guyana. Now, I totally understand the resources are very limited, but I just feel like, they lose a lot of, especially young people, who want a complete body, who they feel that can carry a country, not just because, this government is terrible for everybody, so you gotta vote for us, kind of thing. And it's unfortunate because we need a competitive political landscape for transparency, for accountability, stuff like that.
One of the problems I find with the opposition is being guided. So some of the basic principles of journalism is to be fair, unbiased, and within my expressions, my personal expressions, I obviously express bias because of my association, the associations that I have with present-day members of government and the associations that I lack with present-day opposition. So I could only talk about what I know. So it's clear it's happening. Now, I chose to have a program that expresses a third-party view, an opposition, through Kian Jabur and Timothy Jonas and guests they would have on. They can tell you there's no structure. There's no limit as to what you can say. So much so that Kian Jabur sat in my studio, totally funded by me, aired a program about the contracts that I get. I am like, don't worry, what if the government telling me, man, you're supposed to get a man his opposition on your program. Right? Don't worry about it. You imagine I allowed a man to sit in my studio at my expense and try to bring down the money that I gain to finance the studio. Like, people don't understand. If a government minister asks him how you could do this, you is the least of the problem.
Yeah.
Him costing you is the least of the problem. It's cost me. The man sit in my studio and talk about a reporter turned contractor. Everybody's like, Critic, are you serious? I said, but like you and I'm going
Yeah.
That man has that, because the next day I am going to go and talk about the fact that he's an abuser. There's the truth. He's abused women. There's the truth. Fair. It open up the place. Be fair with people. If the opposition could have seen through what I do, vicariously through me, and realize the importance of the roles that we play in this society, and the fact that we can't be up in our feelings with our decision making,
Yeah.
you have to know that this is a process, but it's not personal. The intent is for a greater good.
You know, there's obviously a lot of mudslinging in this kind of thing, in this business of politicking, right? And you know, I actually wanted to you sort of go back and forth on these things, but for example, you retorting like that on Kian for what he said, does that not, I mean, is that just in the name of transparency and fair game and nothing personal? Like, after that, is the relationship still fine? I'm like, how does that work? It's just politics? It's just politicking?
I still go over at Taco Loco, and Kian has to serve me. When I go, I say, here, where's the best thing you got that you want to eat? No, listen to me. I have gone to Taco Loco, and Kian tells me things that are totally out of the world and crazy. And I said, Kian, the only thing for stop you to send you to Jamaica, and I get up. An open threat. I get up and I said, Pardon, I can't sit down here and listen to you saying, this is madness, and walk out. So even behind the scenes, if I can't take what he's saying, I leave. Mm-hmm. And I go back the next day.
Yeah. It's an interesting space to be in, and it's kind of what sort of
unique to me.
For sure, and kudos to you for being able to stomach it. I just feel like, for me, there's a repulsion in having to play that game, because it doesn't seem to me like there's any. It feels like we're all just sort of one-upping, you know.
Your background doesn't afford you the opportunity.
For sure, and I understand. It's just not just me, but somebody got to do it. I suppose
it's not a bad thing that you're in that position.
No,
and I'm saying your background, not in terms of your professional experience. Your mom, who I know fairly well, and your dad, the environment that you have been brought up in, doesn't afford you that opportunity. The educational background, to some extent, doesn't afford you that opportunity. So to go back a little bit to give you an understanding, I'm an only child. So I had to play in my head all the time. I play, debates. I would have conversations to both sides. I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I have my toys, I play the other side, I play this side. That is why, like, one of the things I've become known for is the most memes in this country. The most memes is about the Guyanese Critic. And that comes from my response time. If somebody says something, I answer within 5 seconds, right? Spot on. And I ask every question, answer whether people question me or not. And that comes from the fact that in school, I was one of the only persons who could have debated for and against and win both sides. I'll just debate for, win the argument, and then go to the other side and debate against and win the argument. Both sides. Right? So it's ingrained in me. And I dropped out of school at the age of 14, hit the streets, started working on a farm, had a real world experience. I've always had big dreams. Like people say, how do you deal with the fame? I said, I don't deal with fame. I've always been famous. That's how I saw myself. It's always been in my head. It is just now becoming a realization. It's now becoming a reality. Mm-hmm. But the realization of who or what I've wanted to become was always there. Okay, to put it in the context. So after leaving home at the age of 14, and I got away from home, dropped out from school, got away from home, but 13, 14, I went to work on a farm in Number 2 Canal. It was owned by a goldsmith by the name of Ricky from Star Street, Albaistown. So he had a few cows, he had a few cabbage patches and so on. I've never been on a farm before. I grew up in Albertown. Right? So, I know, but this is new to me. At the side of that area, there was a huge piece of land, maybe 5 miles long, huge patch of land. You could stand from the farm that I worked on, and you could see Bell West. There's a community in Number 2 Canal. Huge patch of land. And while I stood there looking at these 10 beds of cabbage, I looked and thought, this is the first time I seen beds of cabbage, I could have been on the biggest farm in the world and didn't know it. I'm just looking at this land and seeing these beds. When I come onto the job, the man got cow, the man got cabbage. Man said, this is where you got to water this thing and so. Right? Cabbage, no plan. And when I stood and looked at the land ahead, I thought, watch back, Watson, I say, if I were to plant a farm, I want it to be as far as my eye can see. Bear in mind, the thing I watched there could have been the biggest farm in the world at 10 bed because I never see a farm before. You understand? But when I watch back and I think, I said, me know what they're doing, but I know what I would do. So it was inevitable that I would have been here. Like when I started off as Guyanese Critic, I didn't say, 10 stories wasn't enough. I wanted to do what nobody, I didn't say, NCN and this body and that body did 5 stories. If I do 10 is enough. I did every single story, every time. I just gone back, just take off my clothes. And 11 o'clock, I get a call. I put on back my clothes and I went out back again. I did it every time.
Is there anything or any time where you just turn off and you just don't answer your phone? Because I look at you sometimes on your morning live and you just take a call, you start talking and the phone ringing again and you got picked up and then the phone ringing again. And it just feels like you're constantly going. How do you turn off? How do you just disconnect and disassociate? Or are you not at the point in your life where you feel like you need to do that yet?
Well, I have started recently. So First thing is, there's a piece of time the phone used to ring, a time in my life the phone used to ring and I would answer the phone, jump out of my sleep, answer the phone. I no longer do that. So I get full 8 hours of sleep. And then I wake up about 4:15 in the morning now religiously. And then I do a bit of reading. And then I'm going to go on the phone after I've done that in preparation for the morning. I've chose to return missed calls. So if it's always that way, if you call me, if I don't get the call, I return a missed call. And I'm famously known for the critic returning a missed call, right? So that's how that is done. But because of the fulfillment I get from what I do, I don't see a need to turn off because I don't think I'm on. I'm just being me.
Yeah.
So what happens, you would have, I get 10 calls in an hour. Maybe I say something derogatory, offends people, and they decide to call in, and people start cussing me for different things, calling me different names. And I answer the phone, and I get 1 call, and I get 2 calls, and I get 3 calls, and I get 4 calls. And then the 5th time somebody calls and says, "Critic, I got this problem, man." And I explain to them, and I'm able to bring light to something or bring joy to them or bring peace to them because of my explanation. And then I remember what my real purpose is. And that's why I answer all the calls, because you do not know when one of those calls is for help. And if I'm to be true to my word, I have to answer all of those calls. Funny enough, there are days that people call and say, "Critic, I used to cuss you, but when you do the thing and you help me thereby, you help my mother, you help my auntie," right? So I ensure I am purposeful in what I do. So there's no need to turn off. I got my rest period. Like, for instance, during the day, I do an hour power nap and I re-energize. Now I got to do Guyanese Critic. I'm still answering calls from different companies I have now. One of the fastest growing construction companies, billions of dollars in jobs, doing easy, managing people. I got to do that. And still, I'm the Guyanese Critic. I do a program every morning. I wake up every morning and do a program, whether I like or not. I still have, I'm also, you could consider the most attacked person in this country.
Yeah. 2 things I want to talk about in that vein. One is that, you briefly spoke about, your construction work and the stuff you're into now. And it is a big contract. It's the subject of a lot of public controversy. But most of the time people would get a contract like that and be like, all right, well, on everything else, this is what's bringing in money. This is something very important. I ain't got time with all this other stupidness that I used to do that is not nearly as profitable. Why stay with the old stuff? I mean, why is that important enough for you to put just as much effort while you have this massive thing going on? That's also something that you need to show that you're giving everything to because it's so controversial.
While many people or many entrepreneurs would not have had the opportunity to serve people, has caused them to be all about money. I have never attained a contract, and we have billions of dollars in contracts now. And when I got the document that says I had this contract, when I collected the advance on the contract, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, 15% of $1 billion, or 50 million. I've never received that and feel the kind of joy or that can't be compared to the kind of joy that I feel when someone says, "Critic, you make I do this. This is how you have impacted on my life. This is how you affect me." When you wake up in the morning, this morning I came on late, just after 8 o'clock. I'm supposed to come on since 7 o'clock. There are people that are lonely because nobody, the people who love them, who they thought loved them and cared for them, doesn't call them. 1 hour late on my program, hundreds of calls. "What time you coming on, boss? Where you there, boss? You're coming on this morning. Are you okay? You are my motivation, boss. What's tripping you there, man?"
Yeah.
So, because I've had that experience, and because of the fact, the truth is, there's no better service or nothing better or more rewarding in life than serving humanity. What happens is most people would have had the financial benefit before. So they didn't have me. I had the financial benefit, and I went through this phase where all I got was donations, and I kept doing this thing. And people kept thanking me, and people were very appreciative. When you could go to someone's home, they invite you into their home, and they talk to you like you've been friends for years. Someone you've never seen. "Critic, you remember the time when you say, Critic, when you went England, Critic, when you went India." People, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people think they know me personally.
Yeah.
How do you give up on that?
No money, no amount of money in the world could buy that.
Can't buy.
Yeah.
Can't buy.
Going back to the criticisms of you and you know, you came in here and the first thing you said that things are good, and I'm really happy to hear that. I'm happy for you. I do know that lately, and I've been following you live lately, and you've been talking a lot about the court cases you're in, and you know that's a very public matter. Which you also contribute to its awareness, its public awareness. You know, how do you deal with all of that? I mean, you know, you got people suing you for $1 billion, people suing you for $500 million. I didn't know you had it like that. But you know, how does that take a toll on you? Is that sort of something that, you know, you look at and say, well, maybe that's a result of my actions? Do you regret it, or is it just a fight that you think that needs to happen? How does that affect your life? Because if someone sued me for that amount of money, you know, regardless of if I'm in the right or wrong, it feels overwhelming, you know, personally. I know you're a strong person, you're a strong character, but you know, it's one thing to have that, but then have it so publicly. Talk me through how is that mentally for you?
For a few years now, I have been able to attain what I consider to be equilibrium, a beautiful balance in my life. And I continue to search for myself. The thing is, in suggesting that I've attained equilibrium, it gives you a certain sense of self, purpose, and being. And if you were to be honest about what I do, whether you want to consider what I do as outspoken, sarcastic, whatever one wants to list it as, it comes under harsh. it comes under new. Nobody's experienced this before. Even now, people don't even venture close to areas. I'm the only person who discusses sexuality openly. I'm the only person who discusses first thing, and I don't know if you remember, but when I started the morning live and started talking about politics, Guyana was still a country where people say, me talking politics, me don't ever know. It's only election time. I talk politics every day. And politics became a discussion in this country. I talk politics every day. I talk religion anytime. And people say, me going wrong about me talking about religion. You look at people, they stay away from things. You know what one of the premises were, one of the rules for the Guyanese Critic was, and we are guided by a constitution and rules most people don't know. One of the things was to discuss or to venture in areas that nobody wanted to venture in. So it wasn't because of my interest. It was because of the lacking of interest by the society. I realized they don't want to talk about politics. They don't want to talk about religion. They don't want to talk about sexuality. And I say, yes, that's what I'm going to talk about. The exact things that they don't want to talk about. That has attained me the position of being the most controversial individual in this country. Now, how do I deal with it? There's nothing to deal with. It's fair game. I see it as fair game. You expect, like when people calling me and cussing me. Oh, so you totally missed the times that I've insulted people. You know? Oh, critic, so you missed the times why they cussing people too. You understand? Fair game. If you accept what you're a part of, there's nothing to be worried about.
Well, there's a difference between fair game and when it comes to controversy and, when it goes to court. The people who are taking you to court obviously think that it's slander or it's slanderous and untrue. So, how is it fair game, when they clearly don't think so. They clearly don't think that it's fair game, and obviously it's gotten you into this position. So do you still look at it as fair game because you believe it's true, or is it just, it is what it is?
Like, for instance, yesterday, so to give you a little background, I don't know if you looked at this morning program or you seen the news, what's been going on. I apologize to Simona Brooms. I apologize. Now, so I walked into the court, and the intention, we got court matter. The day before I was in the court with the Mohammeds, I didn't even look in their direction. I didn't pay them much mind. People who are considered to be the most powerful, wealthiest, some of the wealthiest people in this country. I have attained the position that I could take on anybody and not pay them much mind. And I did that with the Mohammeds. Yesterday I walked into the court, second day in the same court, in front of the same judge, with Simona Brooms, and there was just one chair seating available. It was next to her, so I sat next to her, and she was on my left, and the judge was ahead to the right, ahead of us, and I turned, and when I turned to my left, she had this huge smile, and I said, "Good morning," and she smiled. She said, "Morning," nicely. And in that moment, the human side of me, raw human side of me, not to say I'm not always in touch with that side, but I think to myself, this lady genuinely thinks I hurt her. She was hurt by what I said. And I leaned over, because the court is going on. And there was another case at the time. I said, don't worry about the financial thing, nothing. That's not a part of the process here. But if I said anything, or the things that I've said that genuinely hurt you as an individual, I want to apologize. Just like that.
What did she say?
Oh, what happened after we left the court? So we're talking, and the judges, the lawyers are trying to decide dates for submissions and this and that. So the judge said, we don't even know if we can reach submissions because Miss Brooms and Critic look like they make up at the back there. Because remember, we talk, you're supposed to talk in court. We there, leaning over to her ear, talking to her. And then we came out, no plan anytime I'm talking to her, and she's saying, this is my legacy, and you saying these things about me, you're trying to tear down this. And I said, I didn't know it hurt you that way. I'm genuinely sorry. And she went on to do, side by side, we went on, because the media was already there while we were discussing. They asked her first, and she explained, yes, we just talked, and our lawyers are going to look at it and whatever, right? But this was not an apology for her retraction. This was a genuine apology, because I'm sitting there to a woman who said something. I responded to what she said. She was affected by what I said, causing her to bring a lawsuit against me. This is not about the money. If we can't, she's representing a side. I'm representing a side. We're representing people. We're trying to put ourselves over to people. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to enlighten people. And then the two of us can't sit down as human beings. Like, what is expected of the Guyanese critic? For me to start a fight in the court? If I can't, as a man, as a human being, genuinely say, no matter what the circumstances are, not what I said, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I wouldn't, if I knew that what I said was pushing a stake in your heart, I would not have done it. Because that's not my intent. You said things, I said things. In the heat of the moment. But when I'm looking at her and the big brat smile, I'm like, how could I not apologize? This is a woman. Somebody, she got kids. Somebody loves her kids love her. She loves her kids. No matter what the circumstances are, we're human. And if you ever if you lose that human side, well, what then do you have?
Is this a revelation because of that moment you shared with her in court, or is it something that you plan to do with regards to the other conflicts as well?
No.
Okay.
No. Others will not be given that chance.
Okay. So it's different. These are different sort of scenarios.
This is, in some cases, it's real, like, because of that moment with Simona Brooms, I really manned up, I would say. Mm-hmm. And, in the comments, you'd see people say, oh, the apology wasn't, and I talked about it this morning. I said, no, you don't fake an apology for people. If you fake an apology for people, you faking yourself. You gotta be genuine. Like, I don't care what happens. I know in her heart, she knew I'm genuine. I know she got peace. I don't want to be here thinking I have burdened her in any way. Like, she's there thinking, what I would have done, critic. What, who's Senny? Like, no. I want you to know we good. Go sleep knowing that we good. Because I'm going to sleep in knowing we good. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
And if she goes through the lawsuit, you're fine. I mean,
it is what it is. It is what it is.
Sure.
Yeah. But others, no, and a lot of people have said things about me that were untrue. I've never brought a lawsuit against anybody. I was sued by Modwat, Kira, and Bruce, earned $1 million. I win that lawsuit. A lot of these things don't have substance, mm-hmm. right? And it's unfortunate that most of the people in the media industry, and that's why they continue to get themselves in problems, are not very well read in the laws of Guyana.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, just by the nature of the lawsuits, just to interject quickly, just by the nature of the lawsuits, it seems that it's not really to get the money, just to kill your reputation. I'm not saying you're right or I agree with everything you say or I agree with what they say. I'm just talking from a macro perspective of you bring $1 billion lawsuit against somebody. I'm pretty confident I'm not going to get $1 billion out of you. Not that you don't have the money, but me coming down on you is just to embarrass you and ruin your reputation.
Well, the specifics of the Mohammed's lawsuit. Firstly, they came with an injunction to get me to stop saying what I was saying. So the importance was not for them the importance was not wronging the rights or righting the wrongs or clearing up the air. The importance was getting me not to say. And these things are in public. These things are public information.
Yeah.
So that is the extent of our presently what we're doing. We got to go back to the 14th with some submissions. And I'll be talking more on that when the injunction is raised, because it's basically trying to get me to stop talking. It's not about money. At least not between me and the Mohammeds. It's not about money.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. So, what's next for you then? I mean, what's your sort of plan for the rest of the year? And where do you sort of see yourself in the next few years? Do you want to continue in the construction business, and where do you want to take the media? I mean, you've constantly been developing these last 10 years into what you are now. Is there room for your brand to get higher? Or is this sort of...
International. International. Because of the uniqueness of what I do. So we've been discussing with people possibly a Netflix series.
Really?
Yeah. Because of the uniqueness of what I do. So one of the things we're going to be doing is getting back out there. I've started... Last year, I started my world tours. And we're working on documentation to travel to most different countries now. So we're looking at international. I put forward a proposal to you guys. You guys didn't answer me, because we could go places with your level of production, the quality of work you do. Because my thing is content. Yeah. I don't put production first. I put content first.
I told you we need to flesh out an idea.
Here, that thing you see I do yesterday, the easiest 5,000. 5 minutes.
But you don't need me for that. You do that with your phone and you get more views than I would ever give you. I told you, you don't come to me for views. You come to me for something different.
No, I know that. But if we were, like for instance, because of my ability to create any content, and you behind the camera bringing crystal clear audio and proper visual effects, nothing can stop me. Because I'm listening to this. Listen to me. As soon as I come in, you say, you gotta get one of this, the mixer. And I'm listening to this. And I'm listening to the crystal clear quality of your voice. Now, here was the funny thing. I have one of those. I have boxes of these. Many of these. We just never put it together because I never found importance in that.
Yeah.
You understand? So you gotta get people. Like when we started, you got behind the camera, you said, you want to make sure this thing right. If the camera ain't shoot, we'll do it over again. You understand? I don't second guess. I ain't losing no sleep.
Yeah.
The intro for the easiest 5,000, we go back in the studio and do it. It's dark. So we go in the studio and do it. The guy video, any video, things hanging out from the top. You see the lights from the top, right? I watch it and I said, I'll do it back again. Different. I didn't think I wanted to enhance. I just do it again. And I do it 3 times quick. The intro, 5 minutes. The whole thing, we moved the whole process. Move the table, this and that, we shoot. When we watch, he said, the thing left. I said, well, just do it again quick. We did it 3 times. I can't remember the comparison. I don't know if I said the same thing 3 times. I just do an intro. You understand?
Yeah.
Content. My ability to create content. The natural ability. So there's going to be an attraction. Then the added crisp of audio and clarity of visual. Because what happens in the process of packing up the place, you take too much time. And maybe, since we're here, it is a bit of a self-centered selfishness. When I left here, you think about it. Because if the genuine purpose was to get this information out there and get it to the people, right? If you look at it, it's about your mannerism. Oh, when I see you get up there just now, you going behind the camera because you want to make sure it's right. You say, I'm assisting, she in Brazil, please make sure. That's because it's about you. When I do something, it has nothing to do with me. That is why it comes naturally to me. Because when the boy answer the easiest 5,000 question, I calculate like, is what school you is good? I want to know about you. Tell me about you. Me studying microphone and all them thing now. You understand? Me studying the shot. I want to know. Tell me about you. How you get me 5,000? You understand? That is how it comes.
I don't see it like that. I see it a little differently. I hear what you're saying, and I could agree with some of it, but that's because my thing is post-production value. This isn't live. Right?
No, I know.
You know, so if this come out, if I take 2 weeks to edit this, I'm making it up. If I take 2 weeks or a week to edit this, and it come out looking like crap, then there's a reflection on me. You know what I mean? I'm not saying doing it otherwise is crappy. I'm just saying this is the value I offer and how I differentiate myself. We could do this with one phone, and we could just have the ambient audio.
And again, I'm saying it's about you.
Yeah.
Because I want you to create some content with a few mistakes. And you tell me, where are the producers in your comments that telling you, Alex, you do this wrong and you do that? Where the producers them there? They ain't got nobody producing better content than you, Alex.
It's not for them, bro. It's for me.
No, but that is, I'm telling you, I just told you. It's about you. It's a level of selfishness.
Yeah.
You understand? It is about you.
I hear you. You're right.
So if you understand,
stand corrected.
If you accept it. If you're gonna do a level of purposefulness, right? Like me, people saying, critic, you were pronouncing the thing wrong. When the buy was, you say windscreen, and the buy saying windscreen. I say windscreen, and he saying windscreen, right? Yeah. Bear in mind, when I'm looking at the audio playing this morning, I'm playing back the video, the caption is spelling it correctly.
Yeah.
So it's what they're hearing. Because the caption is saying screen, the caption is saying screen. You hear? So the caption is hearing me right.
But the fact that you even said that added to the whole comedic value of the whole thing. It was hilarious, you know?
Yeah, right? So...
And it humanizes you as well. Because even though you kind of come across as, you know, the one self-righteous and power, you're still saying it wrong.
yeah. Right? So that is the process.
Yeah.
So once you get used to it, right? Like when you tell me we got flesh out the thing, right? You say, no, this banana and Sam are going there.
Okay, but
Now you do here. Whatever you doing with it after,
yeah, not here. Yeah.
this you thing.
Yeah.
But you got be ready with the camera. Yes, sir. And we rolling. If you want, we talk about grass. If you want, we talk about this sculpture. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we rolling. It's content. And people are going to see that content and they're going to calculate, yo, this. Because let me say we get a Netflix series. You believe that man I got time for wait 2 weeks? We have to figure out. The trick is, if we're going to go somewhere in this country, if we're going to do production, let me say me, you partner and do something, we can do real production. You got to be doing something different from everybody else.
Yeah.
What's going to give us the in? Like, bro, you want to see me in action? I see you do a video riding horse and all them thing. Right? I can't remember if you were riding the horse, but you cover something in the rupun only. Horse riding. Man. And I'm looking at it. Now, if you see me, a video of me riding a horse, drone footage of me riding a horse at, I think it's Wyken Ranch, you would not believe. An hour after, the first time I rode a horse, I was riding, gallop, and I was operating my drone. I did the video. And the guy that decided saying, you say you never ride a horse. I started, and I realized this thing here is jock up. A nice slow stretch, the horse going like this, right? Quick, I figured this thing out, you know. Within an hour, half an hour, within the hour, I got drone footage like this, sir, riding, so watching, right? Watching the drone thing, sir, because I'm trying to shoot without people realizing it's me doing it, because I'm trying to get a natural something.
Yeah.
You understand? No, all you gotta do is get a camera and watch it and say, yo, I've been to the rodeo, boss. Ride the bull. I've been through the Kurupakari Rapids on my behind. Not kayaking. You understand? If we decide, yo, we're going on a hunting trip, the guy that people sees in the morning live, like, bestie, don't miss, bro. I hit with a 34 Glock. I hit with a 32 Taurus. 300 feet away at an elevation about 100 feet in the air. I hit things perched on top of a tree with a handgun. Yes, sir? There's so many things. Like, the limit to this Guyanese Critic and this man and this... There's so many things that we can do.
It'd be good to see you in like an element where, you know, you sort of push to your limit, you know?
You know I'm into extreme sports too, right?
No, I know.
So
and I
jet
honestly,
skied it here.
I would hate to be a part of something where you got injured though.
Here. But on the other hand, you'd love to see it.
I don't know.
You'd love to see it. Here, I topple over the car, land, right? Land from my head, but I come out dizzy out of my mind. And then went on to do some crazy stuff more after that. I gone to the rodeo, ride the bull, fly, charter plane. With the plane waiting, I said, anytime I get injured, I gotta fly me back to Georgetown right away because let them can't fix these injuries. Right? Ride the bull. Cover the whole thing. Pack up. Fly to regatta. So bull riding was Saturday. Regatta.
The jet ski incident happened right after that?
Yeah. Wow. Right? Yeah, after. Might have, yeah. But I gone participate in the race and had an accident. And I'm there The guy slunched over. Everybody thought it was me getting injured. Me getting injured. I was in the Esquimalt River while he going to the hospital. I was drunk and swimming in the river. I jump out of the boat while we going back to Politickles and I swim in the river. I said, man, I ain't go back by myself.
I thought that was you too. I thought they were pulling you out for real.
No.
Yeah, wow.
So the Guyanese Critic because they see me here, right?
Yeah.
But what happened, when we got the accident, we both flung. And the guy was in the water and he slouched over. Just leaned over, right? So I was like, and he hollered, I said, man, like, you was a little girl or what really wrong with you? Right? And then the guy he got a life jacket, he went down in the water. So I said, well, this guy ain't joking. So I went, pick him up now and hold him like this to keep him, before he didn't realize broken ribs, broken hip. He badly wounded. Pull him to the boat, get him up. Right? Me buys them come and collect me. Me jet ski's a total wreck. And went help you out, get in the ambulance, everybody, oh, critic. Listen, I am in the crowd helping you going and everybody crying for the man like it's me. So I just left them time there drinking. So I took a few more shots. We lime a little bit, took out photos with everybody. Then we head off back to Puerto Rico. So from the time I left Bartica to Puerto Rico, there's no signal. So all the news agencies start running over here, critic, and then somebody do a little video, just call it for me. Everybody thought it was me, on all the news agencies wishing me get well soon, which and I know really and truly they just wish for me to die.
I don't say that.
That would have been, yeah. Here, nobody wants. Here, you just encountering me, they know you've lost.
What's your relationship like with the other media houses, the guys? I mean, is it
not much
harmonious?
No, not much of a relationship. But I outside of media, we're very civil. Like hello, hi,
yeah,
everybody and me good.
Yeah.
I have no ill will to any of them. I'd be in light of the fact of where I am in this society. I'll be unfair to be looking down and vex at people at the same time.
Yeah.
It's unfair. Come on.
Yeah,
you beat them up. You're there at the top of the game.
Yeah.
You made a mess of the media industry.
You just be bad-minded.
It's bad-minded, yeah. So I pay great respect to them. Not to say they haven't worked hard. And, a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into their practice and respect to journalism because I can't carry the mantle me alone. It's everybody. We got democracy and fairness and a good country because of the attributes of all the journalists in this country, not me alone.
Yeah. So I know you got your Man Cave podcast, which use it as an opportunity to talk a lot about issues with men and stuff like that, which I applaud because I think, men in this country definitely, especially the young men, a lot of youths who don't have the guidance, need guidance, and they spend a lot of time watching your program. Just to give you an example, the other day, my apartment, the pipe bust flooded my apartment, flooded the whole building, and my landlord was kind enough to send in a cleaning company. It's 4 young guys show up, right? Very hardworking guys. They got running a good company, but I remember I there with them, and they're in my apartment. Stop cleaning for like 20 minutes because critic on, and all of them just got around the phone watching. So the influence you have is crazy with the young men, and you kind of want to use it to reach out. Are you talking on these issues because of things you've experienced, or is it just that you feel the need to offer some sort of guidance to your viewership?
Well, it's both. Mm-hmm. It's both. The need for guidance, and in that need to give guidance to the viewership, I try for the most part to speak about experiences.
Yeah.
So you're not, if you noticed, if you listen to all my programs, you realize it really is. And people say, oh, it's always about you. Well, who better than who would have experienced that? And if I've never experienced something, I would try to suggest how I would be affected. Like when I'm talking about the loss of life for people, I tell people, I say, I cannot begin to comprehend how you're affected. I give you my condolences on behalf of my followers and supporters, but I cannot. You know why? My mother is still alive. I've never lost a loved one. You understand? I've never been there and had to cry for a loved one. So I cannot tell you how that feels. So it's in both parts. Is the need to, because what else is my purpose? Like when people call me and say, Critic, thank you for the news. I got one of the most ad hoc programs. It doesn't start at no specific time, but it's in the morning. It ain't got no specific topic, but we talk about everything. And it's always disrupted by phone calls or the return of phone calls. My mother calls on my program, don't know that I got she on live, might end up on blast. People calling for money. They bank calling, yes, sir, and I call back. And like, this is open season, right? But nonetheless, people walk away learning something, understanding something, appreciating something. It's just so much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very noble of you to give back in that regard. Despite, and obviously you're very casual with it and you're very uncensored, which, I guess, men connect to sometimes. You got to talk everything, but it seems positive. Seems like a positive thing you're doing.
Well, I think one of the reasons for the decline of morals and whatever makes a good society, I think one of the reasons for that decline is people not being genuine, people not being honest with each other and moreover themselves. We
How does that manifest in our society? What do you see in our society that shows you that?
Too many people are willing to stand idly by and not say a word when something is wrong is happening in front of them. Too many times. People wouldn't see somebody about to make a mistake and say, no, hey man, no man, you can't do that. You could find kids and even adults being abusive to animals.
Yeah.
And people think it's not, that you don't kick a cat or a dog. You'd find elderly women walking up and kick a cat off. Like,
yeah. Does infuriate me.
That is not the normal behavior of people in a civilized society. And I say civilized, things like that do happen. And I say civilized because of the fact that most people, like for instance, people become perturbed when I call them low lives and hungry bellies. And why do they become perturbed? Because they want to be seen as better. They want to be seen as civilized. But they're not. And that is because nobody has told them, no, man, that is not normal behavior. They did it one time. Nobody said anything. And they did it again. And they think that is the norm. You could have discussions with people. And then you realize, oh my, oh, you did not know the difference between wrong and right. It is worrying.
Yeah.
How far we have fallen as a people. It's the world, but I don't want to save the world. I just want to save Guyanese.
Yeah.
I'm trying. If the world learns, I'm picking a battle that I could deal with 1 million people. I think we could be able to, in 20 years, change the mindset and bring a certain level of civility and discipline and humanity to a nation.
Yeah, a lot of that to me has to do with, because we're going through such a development trajectory now and, people are wanting benefits of that, whether it's financial or just a better society, I think a lot of people put pressure on government, for example, to make that kind of thing happen. But I do think that we need a cultural shift, in our society. Like, we definitely have to think about how we as a people doing things and how we operate. And because, you look at something like on the roads, look at how many people getting slaughtered on the roads every day. And it's, that's not normal in a developed like society. The loss of life, how that happens, how careless it happens, and how casual it happens. But yeah, it's just there's no justice. It's hard to find justice. I'm actually interested to hear your thoughts on that. Like, people who are victims in, whether it's crime or road accidents or whatever. Why do you think there's such a failure of the justice system to deal with that?
Because for the most part, our society has been in a struggle to just become. The discussion today is about the sharing of wealth. And that is mostly, the discussion is prominent because we're greedy people. That's what we are, a greedy bunch. Only 10 years ago, we were trying to be recognized. We're trying to get in to Trinidad without being put on the bench in the sidelines. We're trying to be accepted by the world. Today, President Mohammed finally speaks to BBC. It speaks to world leaders. And our last independent celebration was echoed across the world. Niagara Falls changed the colors for us, and some hotel in the Emirates put up flags. We fail to recognize where we're going. And realize the importance of having, or the utmost importance of having a culture, having respect for each other. And it sounds funny coming from me. But this whole process of me coming down and acting like the layman and the regular man is because of how much I care for the people of this country, because of how I want to see change. That is why I speak the way they speak. That is why I make the efforts that I make every day to see change in this country.
Yeah.
So, in terms of justice, I would want to think that at some point in time when we come out of the barrels that we were in, the crab barrel, and come out in the struggle, and the roads are finished, and all the buildings are built, we recognize the importance and the need for civility. Because is it the first world that you're fashioning these ideas of discipline and how civilized society are supposed to be? Oh, the same first world that came from the cowboys, that slaughtered the Indians. Oh, the same first world that now becomes civilized. Well, you got to build the place. And then you start acting in the place. So time is to come for that. But we are a society, because of where we came from, we were always struggling. But at some point in time, we can stop and realize the importance that you have all these things. You gotta calm down.
Yeah. Well, on that note, this has been a pleasure, my friend.
Same here, buddy.
I appreciate you coming. I know you're
Anytime.
a super busy man. So thank you, and I wish you success.
Thanks
Hope
for
to see you
having
soon.
me, buddy. And all the best in your future endeavors. As you know, I'm hoping for us to do something in the future. So
It'll happen. It'll happen.
things gonna happen. Things gonna happen.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.